I would like to talk a little bit about the future of psychiatry from an historical perspective. Today, 2010, we have a descriptive system in psychiatry. Unlike other fields of medicine, where the diagnostic system reflects the disease itself, for example, when you say mitral valve prolapse or appendicitis, mitral valve is a place in the body, appendicitis is a place in the body, and prolapse is what happened to it, or if it is infected, like in appendicitis. In psychiatry, when you say depression, anxiety, these diagnostic entities are not a place in the body, and we don't really know exactly how mood is represented in the brain and how depression happens. So as you can see, we are left with a descriptive system of signs and symptoms which can easily be biased. This is why we hear all these attacks on YouTube videos attacking psychiatry for being unscientific and so on. This state of events has a reason. The reason is that we don't really know how the brain works for high mental functions. For example, mood. How does the brain represent mood? So we don't really know how depression happens. Actually, the brain is the unconquered frontier of science, which gives us a good reason for being so limited in our knowledge about psychiatry. But this state of events is going to change. We have really fascinating advances in neuroscience and other fields of science, which when they will be integrated with psychiatry, I believe there will be a big revolution in psychiatry. I'm talking about fields of science like computational neuroscience, also called neural networks modeling. I'm talking about physics of complex systems. I'm talking about artificial intelligence and mathematical models of the brain, which give us a lot of insights and a lot of information about how the brain might be functioning. But the tragedy is that it's not integrated yet with psychiatry. And there is another aspect of it, which is a historical perspective. If we go back, we'll see that it is not really new. These ideas of neural computation, which could revolutionize psychiatry, are not really very new. Already in the 1800s, Theodor Maynard, who was the chair of a department where Sigmund Freud was working, already in the middle of the 1800s, Maynard said that if we have a thought or we have an experience, this is represented in the brain by an activation of neural ensembles. And these neural ensembles are activated every time we have this thought or this experience. If we have an association, if in our experience things are associated, then one group of neurons representing one association begins to be associated with another group of neurons. He talked about having pathways between them. But in reality, they don't really have to have pathways. They could be synchronized in some way. So our experience, according to Maynard, is a connectivity organization of the brain. Some kind of neural ensembles interconnected. And he went further and said, which is very interesting, he said that each one of us has a different experience and a different patterns of thought, which is individual for us. So each one of us has a different organization pattern of connectivity. And to this pattern of organization of connectivity, he gave the name ego. So the term ego is actually the term that reflects brain neural network organization. And naturally, Sigmund Freud, who was his student, he was a resident, let's say, in his department, took this term of ego, and if you look deeply into what Freud was talking about, actually also Freud, although he went into a theoretical pathway where ego was disconnected from the brain in all senses, still, if you look at it, you see that he talked about ego as an evolving organizational function. And interestingly, in the letters that Sigmund Freud wrote to his friend Wilhelm Fliess in Berlin, you can find drawings where neurons are drawn as circles and interconnected. In the beginning, Sigmund Freud wanted to continue this idea of representing mental functions as activations of neurons and their pathways, and he even predicted synaptic facilitation. Then he noticed that the science is not advanced enough in order to prove, refute, or realize that. And he put the brain apart, talking about brain functions in a theoretical manner, and this is how psychoanalysis and psychology was born. But today, it is time to go back to this initial point where Maynard and Sigmund Freud were functioning, because we have the sciences, we have neural computation, we have computational neuroscience, we have the mathematical tools that are being developed in artificial intelligence and all these fields of science, physics of complex systems, we have it. And all we need to do is bring it into psychiatry and to start and see how we can reformulate what we see in clinical experience and translate it to how neural networks function and to what we know about neuroscience today. I think it should be done, and actually I've written a book about it, and they call it neuroanalysis. And there is also a website, neuroanalysis. If you look on the web, if you type neuroanalysis in any engine, you will find it, and you'll find detailed information about the book. So this is just an introductory, very brief videotape, actually a test videotape, in order to see, just to give this message. Thank you.